Hello folks, I am the Old Sergeant. Let's first go over an outline of the events that have led up to our current situation in Iran. Then I'll have some random thoughts on our current situation. May 5th, John Bolton, the White House National Security Advisor, announces the deployment of the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and a task force of 4 B-52H Stratofortress bombers in response to a number of troubling and escalatory indications and warnings. May 8th, Iran vows to enrich its uranium stockpile closer to weapons-grade levels starting July 7th if world powers fail to negotiate new terms for its nuclear deal. The U.S. imposes sanctions on Iran's metal industry. May 9th, the European Union urges Iran to respect the nuclear deal and says it plans to continue trading with the country despite U.S. sanctions. Trump says he would like Iran's leaders to call me. May 10th, the United States says it will move a Patriot missile battery to the Middle East to counter threats from Iran. May 12th, the United Arab Emirates says 4 commercial ships off its eastern coast were subjected to sabotage operations just hours after Iranian and Lebanese media outlets air false reports of explosions at a nearby Emirate airport. May 13th, European foreign ministers urged the United States and Iran to show restraint. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo briefs his counterparts on the threats from Iran. President Trump warns that if Tehran does anything in the form of an attack, they will suffer greatly. May 14th, Yemen's Iran-allied Houthi rebels launch a drone attack on Saudi Arabia, striking a major oil pipeline and taking it out of service. The New York Times reports the White House is reviewing military plans that could result in sending 120,000 U.S. troops to the Middle East if Iran attacks American forces or steps up work on nuclear weapons. Trump says it's fake news, but that he would absolutely be willing to send troops if necessary. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, says no one is seeking war, but that it wouldn't be difficult for Iran to reach uranium to weapons-grade levels. May 15th, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad orders all non-essential government staff to leave Iraq immediately. The Netherlands and Germany say they are suspending their training of Iraqi forces. May 16th, Saudi Arabia blames Iran for the drone attack on its pipeline, and an English-speaking newspaper close to the palace calls for the U.S. to launch surgical strikes in retaliation. When President Trump was asked if the U.S. was going to war with Iran, the president replied, "I hope not." A day after, he repeated a desire for dialogue, tweeting, "I'm sure that Iran will want to talk soon." May 19th. A rocket lands near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad without harming anyone. It's not clear who is behind the attack, but after the initial reports, Trump tweets, "If Iran wants to fight, that will be the official end of Iran. Never threaten the United States again." May 20th. Semi-official media in Iran report that it has quadrupled its production of low-enriched uranium, which is used for civilian applications but not nuclear weapons. Iran is allowed to enrich uranium to low level for 3.67%, but increased production could lead it to exceed the stockpile limits in the nuclear deal. May 24th. Trump says the United States will bolster its military presence in the Middle East with an additional 1,500 troops. He says the troops will have a mostly protective role. Senior Pentagon officer Vice Admiral Michael Gilday says the U.S. has a high degree of confidence that Iran's Revolutionary Guard was responsible for the explosions of the 4 tankers in the Gulf of Oman, and that Iran proxies in Iraq fired rockets into Baghdad. May 31st, June 1st. Saudi Arabia's King Salman hosts 3 high-level summits in Mecca, drawing heads of state from across the Middle East and Muslim countries to present a unified Muslim and Arab position on Iran. The monarch calls for the international community to use all means to confront Iran and accuses the Shiite power of being behind terrorist operations that targeted Saudi oil interest. June 12th. Saudi Arabia says 26 people were wounded in an attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels targeting an airport in the kingdom's southwestern town of Abha. The Houthis claimed they'd launched a cruise missile at the airport. June 13th. 2 oil tankers near the strategic Strait of Hormuz are hit in an alleged assault that leaves one ablaze and adrift as 44 sailors were evacuated from both vessels, and the United States Navy rushes to assist. America later blames Iran for the attack, something Tehran denies. One of the tankers hit was a Japanese tanker, as Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was in Iran. June 17th. Iran says it will break the uranium stockpile limit set by Tehran's nuclear deal with world powers in the next 10 days. June 20th, possibly June 16th. Iran shoots down an American drone in international waters. Iran claims the aircraft was over their airspace. Hope you all will forgive me for some of the words I may have stumbled over when I was reading that outline. The United States and our allies do fear an Iranian nuclear bomb for a reason. It wouldn't take much to take out Israel, and surprisingly, using an EMP attack over the central United States, you could actually take out the United States. So we have a lot to fear from Iran, along with their long support of terrorism. Yeah, the United States wants a regime change in Iran. The trouble is, how are we going to get a secular government in Iran? There are a lot of factions vying in Iran. We have the Ayatollahs and their religious theocracy. It's questionable if they want to go through the whole 12th Imam route and visit destruction on the entire world, including their own country. I made a video on this. Please take a look at it. I'll link it below. We have the Republican Guard. These are the radicals. These are the people that would be perfectly happy to attack the United States anytime they want to. And if it results in retaliation, so much the better. We have the Iranian people, which are largely secular and would like to get rid of the mullahs. We have various generals with the people that support them on a populist basis. Even more generally than that, we have the routine, ordinary military that can be at odds with the Republican Guard military. There have been the rumors that the military have been disarming Republican Guard ships to keep them from torpedoing the United States ship or an ally ship. We're afraid that some nut job is going to set off the war by doing something they shouldn't. Now, when I first prepared the outline, I did this morning while everything was breaking loose in Washington. The president says that he thinks this might be an accident, essentially giving the Iranian government a way out. For it could very well have been that a Republican guardsman decided to take out our drone rather than the regular military under orders from the Ayatollah to do so. I'm sure they have standing orders, but they know their equipment sophisticated enough to know that our drone was 20 nautical miles out while they have a 12-mile international boundary. So they know that we were clearly in international airspace. So our government right now, our president right now, is giving them a diplomatic way out. Now, they immediately said that it was all our fault, and that was the government response, but you would expect them to do that. There's been a lot of discussion as to whether this could have been all the problems we've had up to the downing of our drone have been false flag operations. That is a reasonable thought to have, considering the situation. So, who would perpetuate a false flag such as these various attacks? Well, the first one that's talked about is Saudi Arabia. And yes, the United States taking out their longtime enemy, the Persians in Iran, they'd love it. So why not give us an excuse? So I wouldn't put it past the Saudi Arabians to do it. However, they wouldn't like how we would respond if it was found out. Another one is Israel. They could have set a lot of this stuff up and a lot of these attacks that didn't harm anyone, like missiles that miss anything. Right now, I don't think the Israelis would do that. They don't want to throw a possible wedge in between our relationship with them, because they know if they destroy the relationship with us, it's over for them. And if you would like to research what happened to the USS America, you may see that it almost happened in the past and very well could have put an end to Israel in the past. So I don't think that Benjamin Netanyahu would do such a thing to us. He is thrilled with President Trump. He's thrilled with the relationship with America now. He wouldn't do anything that would jeopardize that. So a false flag by Israel, I don't think would happen. Russia. Though Russia is allied with Iran, they are very dependent in their economy for oil prices, and anything that ratchets it up oil prices would be good for them. So would Putin be involved in some of this? It wouldn't surprise me, other than I think Putin wouldn't take the risk either. Because then you'd be close to talking about a world war between the United States and Russia over Iran, and one of their top priorities is not getting into a war with the United States. No one would win that. And a lot of people are saying that the United States may be doing this. There have been reports of things like the captain of the Japanese ship saying that some low-level flying object came in and damaged his ship. Well, that could be true, but that doesn't mean that it was created by the United States. That is being too cute by half for us. We wouldn't do it because of the ramifications if we got caught. On top of that, President Trump does not want any wars. He is trying everything he can to get us out of conflicts. Everywhere around the world, he's doing his best to find a way to get out of conflicts. So I don't think he's going to work very hard to get into one, especially over oil. Everybody says, oh, it's always about oil. And maybe in the past they may have been a bit right, like in Iraq. I don't know why we didn't get all the oil, and the oil companies, the Chinese, got that. But now that the United States is independent for oil, these resources are for the Asian area. That's one of the reasons why you had the Prime Minister of Japan in Iran trying to negotiate or have negotiations start with the United States, with maybe using Japan as a proxy between the two of us. That's if Iran really wants any type of negotiation. During the final attack on the tankers, at least as far as I know at the moment, one of the tankers that was hit was the Japanese, while Prime Minister of Japan was seeing the leadership in Iran. This was pretty much an in-your-face kick in the face. I don't know which part of the Iranian government did the kicking in the face. Was it the Republican Guard? Was it the theocracy? Certainly wasn't the Iranian people. So what do we do now? Well, today it's been pretty rushed. It seems like President Trump has given them a way out. They could say that the drone was taken out by somebody who shouldn't have fired it and were not authorized to do so. If they wanted a way out of what happened with the drone, they have one. President Trump frequently does that, is that in his negotiations, in his dealing with people, he may turn up the pressure but leave them a way out. Don't turn up the pressure and leave somebody with no place to go. You always leave them a face-saving way out of the situation. You see that in North Korea. Trying to solve the situation with leaving the leadership a way out, saving face, and even improving their reputations around the world. Now, in this situation, we lost a drone worth $150 million. We have to retaliate. There's no choice in this case. It wasn't the strike I was considering when I started making this video, but in this situation, yeah, we're going to be striking. Now, it can be something as simple as taking out the SAM site that launched the missile. That probably isn't 150 million. For me, and maybe for President Trump, we respond disproportionately, which means they took out one drone, we take out 10 SAM sites, especially the very dangerous ones with the top-of-the-line Russian SAMs, which would make Russia happy because they could sell Iran replacements. I'm worried about what's going to happen in the future if this continues to escalate. Now, if you noticed, we had not sent massive numbers of troops over. We sent what was considered self-protection, which when you're dealing with only a couple thousand people, that's all that it is additional protection, additional security. Not much more than that. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people on the ground if we had a full war with Iran. We would have to take them by boots on the ground, we'd have to sweep Iran, and it'd be bloody and it'd be horrible. It's the very, very last thing we want to do. If anything, we want to rescue the Iranian people. With this day of technology, though we have various options, our military is far superior, so we can take out their Navy, take out their Air Force, take out all their SAM sites, take out their leadership headquarters. They need to know that we can put a missile into a window and create as big an explosion as we feel like, to take out the room, to take out the building. And they need to also know is we have a pretty good idea where their military and civilian leadership are all the time. So yeah, we could use a lot of targets that won't hurt the civilian population, just the military, just the leadership. We will avoid hitting targets that would hurt the people. But it depends on the amount of pressure. We may have to put pressure on the people to personally take out their own government. That's the best thing always, is when the people rise up and say, okay, we've had enough. To hell with this. That might mean we'd have to take out a power grid, a dam. But we would like to avoid those type of things. We want the pressure on the government. We want the pressure on their military. So I believe we're going to have a little strike in retaliation for the downing of the drone. It could be just something as simple as taking out the SAM site. It could be using cyber warfare against them. The ones in the zeros that nobody would ever see, it's just they would see things stop working and really cause havoc for a while for them. But we are heading for a large-scale strike, and I really hope that Iran takes Trump up on his offer and sits down at a table and talks to him. That's all he wants. He will give the Iranian leadership a way out. But if they want to go crazy and want to bring on their 12th Imam by destroying the world, including themselves, so their equivalent of the return of Christ shows up and they feel that's the way they have to do it, which, by the way, is the equivalent of our Antichrist, the Christian Antichrist. It's up to the Iranians at this point. Nobody wants a war. I'm sure most of the Iranian leadership, civilian leadership, don't want a war. Most of the regular military doesn't want a war. They know what it would mean for them. And contrary to popular belief, military people are the last people that want a war. We don't want to fight them because we're the people that are fighting them. So we're the last folks that want one. Republican Guard, the fanatics, how much power do they have? Can they easily overthrow the regular military and the Ayatollahs? We don't know yet. Will the people stand up now that there's a good chance that there will be a military attack on their country? Let's hope that they wise up and say, yes, President Trump, we will talk. Otherwise, hell is going to be visited on their country. Folks, stay vigilant, patriots.